Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Michigan International Speedway for tonight's coverage of the Northwest Cup Series. It's race number 10 of the 2020 season, live on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. I'm Justin Prinzel. On some of the move tonight is Greg Rentz, Charles Woods in the director's seat for what should be a thrilling one tonight here at Michigan. Greg, a fun racetrack for these competitors. They talked about it coming into tonight, how the Xfinity race went 3-4 wide for the lead. We're about to see potentially that when the green flag drops tonight.
One of the most historic and most prestigious venues in NASCAR, Justin. This has always been a staple of the NASCAR schedule, as this is the home grounds for two of the three manufacturers in the race here tonight. The classic Ford versus Chevy showdowns here in the Motor City were always stuff of legends in NASCAR. We're going to get our own version of it here tonight for 100 laps on the very fast 2-mile Michigan International Speedway. And like you mentioned, multi-groove, 4, even 5 wide is very, very common here at this amazing facility.
The last time we've seen the Northwest Cup Series hit the track, it was in Kansas. At the Kansas Speedway, Sean Brightsman came away with the victory in one of the most thrilling finishes of the season, was able to hold off the 83 machine despite only being on 2 tires after methodically working his way up through the field, Greg.
And were you at all surprised to see Sean Brightsman make a strategy call and it pay off for him with a win? That was his 3rd win of the season. And we've come to expect it from Brightsman that if he gets an opportunity to try to gain some track position with a interesting call, whether it be 2 tires, no tires, fuel only, short pitting on an opportunity, if he sees a chance that he can probably steal a win, he's going to take it. And it has worked out more often than not. 3 wins on the season combined with several top 5s and seconds and all that stuff based off strategy calls. So it was just another classic Sean Brightsman move there at the end. But how about the run Chris White had last week? We cannot overshadow that. He was running up near the top 5 most of the race, got caught up in an accident, had to take his fast repair, and fought his way back up and came up just 1/100th short of coming away with the victory there. So it was a great effort by Chris White as well.
Absolutely. He is currently the highest ranked non-race winner or pole sitter on the campaign and point standings. Dan West Jr. leads in points with 29 points being the advantage over Sean Brightsman. Jeff Stabnow currently in 3rd with Chris White, as mentioned, for Stephen Paulson, Seth Frazier, John Auenbacher, Daryl Tidrick, Carl Burke, Ricky Bozier rounding out the top 10 in the points so far. And remember, when the postseason starts later on in the fall time, the points are going to matter and the wins are also going to matter because only 5 drivers have taken home victory so far over the first 10 races coming into the first 10.
Yeah, and early in the season, we all thought Seth Frazier was going to be the guy to watch in the number 32, but after those 2 wins in the first few races, he has hit a dry spell, and it continued last week at Kansas. It was a great run for the 32 of Frazier, but got caught up in an accident late. So Seth Frazier is looking for a bounce back here today at Michigan after having the early success that we talked about. He was the first driver to multiple wins on the season, and for a while, Justin, he was the only driver with multiple wins before we saw the likes of West, Stabnow, and Brightsman park it multiple times. So the early domination for Frazier that we talked about has gone right out the window, and he's trying to get back on track here and stop probably 2 of the hottest drivers on the tour right now, Brightsman and Dan West Jr., a guy you can never count out as well.
Absolutely. And talking about Frazier as well, had led a fair amount of laps in that Menards machine. However, was able to break a 3-race non-top 20 streak, and that he had not finished higher than 21st in 3 straight races. Was finally able to get his first top 10 since March the 30th at Homestead. Just so happens to be the last time they were at a 1.5 mile shaped either in a D shape or a conventional oval. But tonight's going to be wild because with this package, for those who have watched a race since 2019 at Michigan, is crazy. Full throttle much of the way. Tire conservation still a very important part, but the draft is a major part of how these cars will drive tonight.
Absolutely. This is such a aero-sensitive racetrack, and we've talked about that quite a bit with this new aero package that the Cup cars run on the iRacing server. But this track, that's always been the case, Justin. This track aero is so important at such a high speed, multi-groove racetrack like this, the aero dependency is going to be huge. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on if anybody gets any lick of damage, they might use that fast repair early, because we saw last week at Kansas what happens when Seth Frazier didn't take the fast repair. He was able to stay in second, but Jeff Stabnow was able to open up a 3-second lead over Frazier, who was in second but had that damage. So that could be amplified even more here at Michigan, where at the high speeds and so much aero sensitivity at this racetrack. It'll be interesting to see driver strategies when it comes to using fast repairs if they find themselves behind the 8 ball with some damage early.
And think about this as well. In real life, the last time they were at a 2-mile circuit for the NASCAR Cup Series at Auto Club, the first 15 laps of each and every run in that race seen several lead changes because the draft effect is that big at these racetracks. When we go to the flatter 2-mile circuits, it's going to be very important to be that car who gets clean air at the end of the 15-20 lap runs before the tires start to factor in for the second half of the run.
Absolutely, tire management going to be so key at this facility. This is an old track surface, so tires are going to get worn out very, very quickly. And to go along with that, the track temperature is a toasty 106 degrees as we get set to qualify, as the driver's meeting is just about wrapped up. So, Justin, this is going to be interesting to see how these tires develop throughout the course of the race, and we'll see who saves their tires for the second half of the run, or who decides to go all out and try to gain as many spots as they can before the tires fall off too much.
Yeah, we're at one of the highest points of the sun right now, just past 2:01 p.m. local time in Sim. Partly cloudy skies could also be a factor tonight. Tonight's distance, once more, though, 100 laps is the exact distance. In total, 200 miles here at Michigan in the Motor City. It's a two-stopper for the strategy game as well, Greg, on fuel. However, when you think back to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series when they went to Auto Club, a couple drivers, by using a lot of clutch, were able to stretch it to a one-stopper. It's possible, but it's extremely difficult. 10 out of 10 difficult.
You're going to have to be perfect if you want to try to make this a one-stop race. You're going to have to mind your P's and Q's through the whole race. You're going to have to save fuel at every opportunity and dodge accidents as they occur and dodge contact with other cars. It is going to be extremely difficult if someone elects to go with that one-stop strategy, and it's a big risk, Justin. I'm not so sure that if I was crew chiefing tonight that I would be considering a one-stop strategy. For me, this is a two-stop race the whole way, but you never know. We know some drivers are willing to take risks. We saw it at the Roval a couple of weeks ago. We thought that it was going to be a two-stopper for a majority of the drivers, and it actually was Jeff Stabnow taking the win on a one-stop strategy.
Indeed. Drivers meeting wrapping things up here as qualifying is now underway from Michigan. Kate Anderson amongst the first of the drivers. Also making the way onto the track is Dan Stuzzi. Brian Barnes watching along as a few others make their way onto the circuit. Just 2 or 3 in the first couple moments or so. They'll have about 5 minutes or so to set their fastest time. In practice, with the help of the draft, a couple storylines. Top driver in practice is a newcomer. The 222 of Brock Denny set the fastest time in practice at 37.934. James Thurston, James Vining, Dan Stuzzi, Dan Lowther rounded out the top 5 in practice. Qualifying's a much different scenario, though, of course, with 2 laps and clean air all the way around.
And no drafting help either, Justin. These were single car runs here at Michigan, and a lot of those times that we were talking about were courtesy of drivers drafting together. And on top of the charts, you mentioned it, Brock Denny and Dan Lowther, and those two were working together because they've been in communication with each other all day, as Denny is making his debut, and Lowther, of course, the newcomer to the series as well. But they raced together in official races as well, so they've been working together through the course of the day, and it showed as they were up near the top at the top of the charts. Both of them were up there 1 and 2, I believe. So drafting help going to be key, but that's out the window here in qualifying.
Taking a look right now at Caden Anderson, putting in the first official qualifying time in the session, a 38.420. That is only 0.3 off his practice pace. Others also cycling to the 38.6s. And this is, again, where it's one of those tracks where you want to build up as much momentum as you can for your second time around.
Absolutely. this track is so big and so long that it really all comes down to how you get that first lap momentum built up for the money lap, which is what Caden Anderson is coming to complete right now. Lap number 2, he's top of the charts in the 38.420, drops it to a 3.43. So second lap, the quick lap for Anderson as the first batch of drivers complete their first laps. And Justin, the second lap seems to be most definitely going to be the fast lap for everybody here.
By at least a tenth or so. Carl Burke came across with 38.349. O'Hare now to the top of the board. Stefan O'Hare, to be precise, with a 38.3238. Ricky Boser with a 38.281, though. Puts himself on top of the pylon.
Nice lap for Ricky Boser in the 42. He comes across on the second lap, 38.281, top of the charts, as the next batch of drivers is going down the backstretch for their second lap. Ottenbacher, Tidrick, and others going on down there. Daryl Tidrick, of course, in turn number 3, coming to complete his second lap in the No Fear Toyota. And Justin, Daryl Tidrick's looking for a bounce back, and actually looks like he completed his second lap and was just coming around all the way to pit road.
Yeah, keeping an eye on Lowther, who just completed his first lap. And he talked about how he worked together with his teammates in practice. We'll see if he's able to start it towards the front with them. Currently 12th on the board. Had to let off the gas a fair bit, hitting some of the bumps in 3 and 4. Coming across the stripe at about 189 miles an hour, 38.341. Puts him up to 4th. Decent qualifying run.
And Dan Lowther spent a lot of time practicing for this particular race. He already has his truck setup pretty much locked in. He was spent all weekend working on his truck setup for Thursday night's race. So that allowed him yesterday and today to really focus on getting a handle on this fixed setup that the Cup Series is running. And he has spent a lot of time and turned a lot of laps at Michigan this weekend preparing for this race.
With a race such as Michigan, would you be the type who prefers to start up at the front, try and battle in that grouping, or do you want to try and start maybe middle to the back of the pack and let everything fare out with 2-3 wide in the middle of the pack?
Typically, when I'm in a race, I typically try to start near the back if I can and stay out of trouble as long as I can. And I think I would amplify that here at Michigan. I would want to start in the back. It's a long race, 100 laps, and we know things are going to change up because of the draft. It's so important to have drafting here at this track and be able to do it to get yourself back up to the front. I think I would start near the back if I could and just gradually work my way through. And Justin, look who's on top of the charts in qualifying, the guy who was on top of the charts in practice.
Brock Denny now to the top of the board, a 38.255. That is about 2/100ths quicker than James Vining, who's currently in P2. But Dan West Jr. tied for the most point poles of the season, 5th all-time in Northwest Racing Series competition in that mark. Looking to move himself up from 13th. At the stripe of 38.286, not a fast enough. Puts him just 5/1000ths behind Ricky Boser for P4.
4th for Dan West Jr. Notably, his son Devin just now entered the session, and Justin, I don't believe he is being scored on the ticket right now. So Devin West might not be competing tonight. If he doesn't make it out here soon, he might be in a crew chief role for his father tonight.
You say that, but the 16 just made its way onto the racetrack. In fact, down the back straight away.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, he's on the racetrack. Seth Frazier, meanwhile, looking to make his way onto the speed charts. One of only a few drivers not to set an official time. 31 competitors at the circuit tonight. 23 have set qualifying times. Frazier starts off well, 38.422. But that right now, based on what we've seen with the second laps, is only tracking to be a potential, at very most, 7th-place qualifying run.
Let's see how it goes. Frazier's going to need a big pickup on the second lap. Currently being scored in the 21st position. Devin West just started his first qualifying lap. 25 cars, I almost said trucks, on track right now. Jeff Stabnow's first lap, not what he was looking for. He is bottom of the chart right now, 38.697. Definitely not the lap that Jeff Stabnow wanted. In the 24th, Seth Frazier coming across the stripe to complete lap number 2. We'll see where he goes. How does a second stand? Just 1/1000th off of Brock Denny. Seth Frazier, 38.256. We said he needed a pickup. There he got it.
That was a good run through 3 and 4 in the 190s at the start and finish line. Whatever he did to build momentum, it worked. Devin West, meanwhile, we'll see how he builds momentum. Had a good first lap. 193 miles an hour entering turn 3. Remember the miles an hour mark set by Frazier at the start and finish line to get up to the front row was 190. Keeping an eye.
Right.
And ran out of time. Qualifying just ended right before he got to the stripe, Greg.
Oh my goodness. Devin West comes up about half a second short of a second lap, so he's going to start in the 18th position once it's all said and done, Justin.
And the track was cool enough for him to build up the speed, was on track for a potential front row position. Now starts deep in the field. Let's take a look at how they'll start after qualifying. 5 total minutes for these drivers to set their times. Brock Denny starts on the pole with a 38.255. Seth Frazier starts in second. James Vining, Corey Walters in row 2, with Ricky Boser and Dan West Jr. in row 3. James Thurston, one of the quickest drivers in practice, starts in 7th, with Roy Grande with one of his best qualifying runs of the campaign in 8th. Brian Barnes in 9th. Stefan O'Hare, one of the earliest qualifiers in the session, rounds out the top 10 grade.
A lot of practice for Dan Lowther pays off with an 11th place starting position. To his outside will be Stephen Paulson in the 58. Caden Anderson raced the Tour Modifieds earlier tonight, will roll off lucky 13. To his outside, Carl Burke. He's another driver, Justin, who's looking for a bounce back after a good run gone bad in Kansas last week. Dan Stussy in the 15 position in car number 78. To his outside, Daryl Tidrick with the No Fear Toyota. John Ottenbacher, one of the LSR TV Toyotas, will roll off 17th. To his outside, Devin West came about half a second short of a possible front row position, but did not make it around to complete the second lap. He rolls off 18th. Adam Chisholm and Bruce Lee Weaver round out the top 20.
Sean Brightsman starting 21st tonight with a 38.387. Brett Johnson, 1/1000 of a second behind him, starts 22nd. Jeff Stabnow in 23rd. Chris White in 24th. Dana Rogers, BJ Tidrick round out the drivers who put in times. Rest of the field will start on provisional. Scott Mann, Scott Hutchinson, Frank Harris, Steve Jennings, and making his debut tonight, Josh Washington, who was fairly quick in practice. However, Jennings and Washington have not made it to the starting grid for tonight's 100-lap, 200-mile race from the Motor City. Once again, to talk about Michigan International Speedway, 18 degrees of banking in the turns, 12 degrees at the start and finish line, just 5 degrees of banking on the back straightaway. In sim time, just past 2:17 p.m. Day is June the 7th. Track temperature at the drop of the green flag in just a moment, about 103 degrees Fahrenheit, 79 degrees the air temp. Keep an eye on the winds gusting their way down the back straightaway towards those spoilers. That's at 7+ miles an hour, give or take, to the southeast.
Well, happy birthday to me here at Michigan International Speedway in sim date, June 7th, coming around, and we're going to go 100 laps, 200 miles, and if it's my birthday, then I can't think of a better way to spend it than here at the Michigan International Speedway.
Yeah, such a beautiful facility. You talked about the history of it. It's my personal home track. I live just about a couple hours away from this facility. The energy in the crowd every single time the Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and Truck Series events make their way to the circuit is electric. The Northwest Cup Series looking to write their own history and have an electric start to tonight's action from Michigan. Just moments away from the drop of the green flag, the Northwest Cup Racing Series all set to go. The Detroit Automakers 200 all set to go green. Pace car is off. Brock Denny in control of the field. Seth Frazier on the outside. Green flag's up on the stand. We're underway for Michigan.
Look at the start that Seth Frazier got on the outside there, able to lead him to the line. James Vining doing a good job hanging with Brock Denny. The driver not able to hang with the guy in front of him was Corey Walters, as he may have not been able to gun it initially as he lost touch with Seth Frazier. That might cost him as they come through turn 1, as Brock Denny got a good run on the inside as they fan out. We're already 3 wide. Oh, and no problem. Brian Barnes.
Already caution flag is out. Carl Burke's in it. More cars also flipping and spinning down the back straightaway. And after half a lap, we're under yellow at Michigan.
That did not take long at all, Justin, and that's a tough break, as that happened up near the front in the top 10.
Yeah, you see there, contact in the 3 wide. O'Hare drifted just a touch to collect Barnes, and nowhere for Burke and the rest of the drivers involved to go. Already several cars now in position to have to use a fast repair after only about a mile.
And that's a tough break, because with the limit on fast repairs at a track such as this, that's their only mulligan, and you did not want to have to use that. You didn't want to have to use that in the first half of the race, let alone the first lap of the race, Justin. That's a tough one.
As they've now reached the iRacing official pace car, Seth Frazier is now the race leader with that good start. Brock Denny just did not get going. Remember, on the initial start, they must wait for Marty the flagman to control the field at the drop of the green flag. Then it becomes at discretion of the leader from that point on, Greg.
See how this one unfolds on the next restart, and see what Brock Denny learned as he's making his Northwest Racing Series debut here in the number 222 out here at Michigan. So starting on the pole, not a bad start to his Northwest Racing Series career, but got caught sleeping a little bit on the restart as a couple of cars around the 10th or so position are coming on the pit road, Justin.
Yeah, those are some of the cars who were just involved in an incident. Chris White having to use a fast repair. Dana Rogers not using his. Brent Johnson having to use his. O'Hare with a bit of damage. Autumn Bucker with damage. Tidrick also got slammed to the back end. A few others also have made their way down the pit lane. And now you mentioned there was the mulligan of having that one fast repair. There's also the challenge of electing just to get the damage repaired. Here's the problem at Michigan. If you have any sort of aerodynamic damage that puts you down a straight line speed, there's a chance you lose the draft within 5 laps.
Well, the good news is for those drivers who may be trying to fix the damage and not use that fast repair, caution laps take so long at this facility just because it's so big. They have extra time to be able to make that repair. So if they only got little bits and pieces of it and they have maybe a minute of repair, if they can get in right as the pace car is coming into turn number 1, they might be able to get all that damage repaired before it comes back around. And not only that, they stay on the lead lap and maintain the fast repair for later. So a lot of drivers might be in that position where, hey, I only have so much time of repair. If I can get repairs started quick enough, I might be able to get it all done before that. So that may be what we're seeing with some of them.
Yeah, that's indeed the case for a couple of the drivers. Dan Lowther, among some of the drivers electing to get just damage repair. Barnes trying the same thing just in case there's another big one in this race. Once again, coming to just the conclusion of lap 3 here in the Motor City. About to get the 1 to go signal. Frazier in control of the field. Denny in second. Walters, Vining in row 2. Bozier and West Jr. row 3, Thurston and Anderson row 3, Stuzzi and Devin West round out the top 10. Give a shout out to that 16, was able to avoid some of the crashes down the backstretch. Now he's already worked his way from the late teens to the top 10.
8 spots already for Devin West, but would you believe it or not, he's not the highest mover of the race thus far. That actually goes to the driver behind him, Bruce Lee Weaver, up 9 spots after dodging the wreck. So a couple of drivers making a lot of moves here early. Bruce Lee Weaver up 9 spots, Devin West +8, Sean Brightsman +8. We know how dangerous he is if he can get into a position like this. Actually, Scott Mann is up 11 positions, moving further back into 9 cars, so he was able to gain quite a bit of ground as well after getting through that accident. So some big movers in the middle of the pack already after they were able to dodge that incident.
So 28 cars on the lead lap. End of longest line penalty going to BJ Tidrick as they still work their way into turn number 3. Let's try this again, shall we, from Michigan. As the clouds start to go over, we'll have to see how this launch goes. Keep in mind, Scott Mann already in 16th position and the Pennzoil car all set to get back underway.
Coming through green, field in the hands of the Duracell Menards Ford of Seth Frazier in the number 32. As he got the good restart, or the good initial start, and he's going to follow it up with a good restart here, as once again he catches Denny asleep. But Brock Denny has room to get down in front of Walters, and no, he elects to stay with Frazier, who slid up high. That works just as well, as he's going to get the draft off the 32, and that could leave the number 9 car hanging here before too long.
Walters trying to run to the bottom side, going down the back straightaway. Let's see if we can make it by this time. Yes, much more spread out compared to the initial start of the race. Still side by side for second. Walters trying to send it just above the first seam, able to stick it just about, snapped around though. This is the tricky part of Michigan in 3 and 4. If you go at or below that first seam, you can really snap loose in the fixed setup.
Looks like some drivers elected to do that through the trial hold there. Look at how these guys are spread out and fanned out, but they are racing hard here. 3 wide in the back here. Devin West, I believe that's James Thurston in the 2, and I believe that's Ricky Bozer on the outside. So we've got some great stuff going on here, and this is just the top, I believe, 10, top 9, excuse me, as Devin West falls to the back here. 9-car breakaway up at the front, and just look at how dicey they are already.
You talk about 3 wide in Michigan. Let's go nearly 4 wide. Devin West up the middle, makes it 3 wide to complete 2 passes. 3 wide heading into turn 1. Squeezes Vining on the top side, tries to get to the outside of Walters. Anderson ducks his way underneath the 9, near contact in turn 2.
4 wide for a split second there as they all come together and work their way off of turn number 2. And Devin West is the one doing the slicing and dicing right now, going high, going low, going straight plumb ball through the middle. And he is making it work right now as he is to the inside 3 wide with James Vining and Caden Anderson up on his outside. Ballot breaking out for the lead, as well as Brock Denny is coming up on the outside of Seth Frazier, took a peek after a crossover, throws another crossover to try to get on Frazier. Brock Denny, he wants the lead here in his Northwest Racing Series debut. He wants to get his first laps led after getting his first pole.
We'll see how he can get the pass done here. Doesn't have any drafting help. Walters drafting his way up to Frazier. Side by side into 3, sends it hard on the gas. Just can't get clear though. However, does have the drafting help from behind. Frazier's hunt out to try. 3 wide for the race lead. Up the middle comes the 9. Anderson gives him a shove.
Ooh, too close to call at the line. Frazier led the lap, but Corey Walters is going to poke the nose out front. But Justin, look at what happened when the top 2 started slicing and dicing. The rest of the field was able to suck right up on them and make their way up and get into the battle. And now we suddenly have 2 new faces up at the front in Walters and Frazier, or Anderson. Frazier not going away though, gets right up on the back bumper. Here comes Vining in the 333 to the inside of the 32 of Frazier. Caden Anderson pokes his nose to the front. Anderson coming by looking to lead the lap. Looks like he may do it as they come through the tri-oval. Now West Family Racing looking like they might get hooked up here as both Devin and Dan are side by side. If Dan can get behind Devin, no. Devin's saying, nope, I'm coming through. I'm going for the lead. I'm up in second, and he's coming for Frazier now in second.
Frazier still able to hold on to the second position, but to get back to the point you just talked about, whenever there's the side-by-side, it can lose you up to 4/10 a straightaway. Frazier wants his lead back, though, side-by-side with Anderson. Takes away the bottom line. Move the 32 back to the point, and here comes Devin West now with the draft.
Devin West came oh so close to missing qualifying as he was late to the session. Came up about half a second short of a possible front row starting position as we talked about, and he's showing that that 16 does have a lot of speed as it took him, what, 6 green flag laps, 7 green flag laps to get up here to second from the 18th starting position?
Yes, indeed, and that included avoiding the big one on the first lap. Has to go back single file, though, top 4 in a single file line. And now the tires start to wear in at this point. This is where it gets to trying to make sure you manage the tires as well as making sure you try and get as clean of air as possible for when that tire wear factors in. Devin West nearly forces his own clean air to make it nearly 3-1.
Anderson gets the nose back in front as the rest of the field is single file behind these 3 jockeying for position. But Corey Walters, he wants some clean air as well as he was peaking low on Devin West. Falls in behind him now. The rest of the field sorted out single file and trying to set up their next move. And here it is, Dan West Jr. to the inside of Corey Walters. Has James Vining with him. Great run so far for James Vining In the triple three, he has James Thurston with him. West Family Racing hooking up once again. Nope. This time Dan to the inside of Devin. This is for third.
Side by side between father and son. Trying to keep up with the race leaders. West Jr. trying to ride the seam, going below the seam. Not where you usually expect cars to go. West powers by with the momentum on the high side. Devin West back up to third. But now I think we're starting to see that the pack spread apart. Crash on the back straightaway. Caution's out. 78 Dan Stuzzi.
Another tough break for Dan Stuzzi, who has just been on such a tough streak lately, a DNF streak in the 78 car. So not the way he wanted to go here on lap 13. We're under our second caution of the afternoon, and it's this tough luck kid, Dan Stuzzi, once again.
Yeah, started at about 15th position, was able to just avoid the first wreck, and now has to use this faster pair with a blown engine, losing all his track position after contact with BJ Tidrick. Coming to lap 14, 87 laps to go. Fraser's still in the lead, though. And this is going to make it more and more interesting on how you take the rest of the race. As we talked about, estimated to stopper, but you can go up to about 45 laps on the fuel at Michigan.
So we'll see. We're on lap 14. What drivers elect to do. As we'll see how this goes. As looks like we may be seeing the field set up to possibly come down pit road, as we're seeing him take a very low line here in turn 3 and 4. Could we see the first pit stops already?
We'll see. We had our longest run of the race so far in terms of green flag laps. And yes, in comes most of the field. In fact, the entire field. Fraser the Pied Piper, as they all want the 4 tires and fuel. And remember, the more they battle and the more they fight in the short run, Greg, the more they make it tighter for them on the long run, since you're fighting side by side so much you can potentially burn the right front by having a lot of heat go in the tire.
And these short runs are going to be absolutely killer. Kaden Anderson either missed his pit stall or just said, and the heck with it, because he just kept on driving and went right back out on the racetrack as the rest of the field comes in for service. So Anderson either missed his pit box or said, hey, I'll come around and possibly lead a lap.
Yeah, he had a fully white pit stall sign, should know. That's in terms of the sign that hangs above the drivers to indicate where they are in the pit lane. Didn't even make a move towards it. Scott Hutchinson, though, stayed out in front of him to try that exact same tactic. So we'll see how this entails and how it's scored here.
Seth Fraser won the race off pit road with the West family behind him. So the field that stayed out and Caden Anderson, who came in and just kept on driving like a Sunday afternoon drive, is on the backstretch going into turn 3 and now. So we'll see if that was strategy on Anderson's part or if he just missed his pit box. We'll see.
Well, it's a risky call even to stay on 10-lap older tires at Michigan, because you have to let off the throttle much more compared to, say, how you can go near full throttle on the at the start of the run. And that's indeed the case as to missing the stall. There goes Hutchinson. There goes Anderson to sacrifice the track position to make sure they get the fresher tires. It would also give them the fuel advantage, though, for the run.
Brian Barnes staying out, though, in the number 4. Remember, he was one of those drivers who was caught up in the accident, so he may be in the lucky dog position, so he may be waiting on that opportunity to rise. He's the only driver not on the lead lap right now in the number 4, as Dan Stuzzi has taken his fast repair and gotten back around. So Barnes already getting 1 lap back as that strategy worked out in his favor. We'll see how it all unfolds here, if he does indeed come in for pit road, or if he's just going to stay there and take the wave route.
Even with the wave around, though, still going to be a lap down. There was a bit of strategy, though. Everyone took 4, except for 1. Would you like to take a guess who? It's Scott Mann, who we've seen charge his way up to the teens last run. He's the only one who took the gamble and only taking 2 tires.
Justin, we're used to seeing Sean Brightsman do that, but we're used to seeing him wait for the second half. Kind of interesting to see Scott Mann taking the call in the 27th position, starting position. Remember, he did not qualify. He had to start on a provisional. So that may be a move to get him up into the top 5. We'll see how it goes. 10 laps on the left side tires. You think he's still going to be able to make a run, or is it too early to making a call like that?
Well, my personal opinion, it might be a bit too early. But as we've seen so far, in the short runs, we've only gone about a 10-lap run at the very most, and we had a crash on the first lap of the first run of the race. Might be trying to gamble here, Greg, in that it might become a track position race and hoping he can hold on to as many positions as possible if there was an aerial flag to come out. We'll see if that is indeed the case or how things work out here. One to go signal on the racetrack. And your thoughts on how this race has played out so far as we approach the end of the first fifth of the action?
Pretty much exactly the way I thought it was going to unfold here to start, Justin. A lot of side-by-side racing and a lot of drafting going on, a lot of aero dependency and trying to get your nose out in clean air. And that's exactly what we were expecting. We talked about it before the race started, that we were going to see a lot of jockeying for position, and track position was going to be key. We haven't really seen the long run yet, so we don't know what they're going to do on the long run yet, as our longest run of the day was about 10 laps, coming to our third start of the afternoon, our second restart of the afternoon. So we will see how this goes and see if they can get a long run in. But honestly, right now, we just don't know what's going to happen on the long run.
Couple cars to keep an eye on here in this run. We've talked about Sean Brightsman and how he methodically cut through the field at Kansas. He's already up to 10th position on the pile on the left side of your screen, outside row 5. Also back into the top 10 for the first time since the practice charts. Bruce Lee Weaver, who is now up to 8th position, started in 20th spot. Marty the flagman waiting up at the stand. All set to go back to racing. Seth Frazier in control of the field. David West on the outside. Frazier all set to get back on the gas. Green flag is out. We're back to racing for Michigan.
What a start by Seth Frazier. Devin West not going. Connection issues perhaps for the 90 of Scott Mann. And that's a little bit scary if you're the drivers behind them, such as Denny and Weaver and company. Because when the car in front of you starts having connection issues, that's a scary, scary thought. You don't know where they're going to pop back up next time they blink out.
Indeed, side by side for third position. Mann trying to draft up. See how this works out. Elects to check up. All while they go side by side. Now 2 rows deep. Frazier sends it hard on the bottom side. Holds on to the lead coming out of turn 4. Dan West Jr., though, has to play defense. Here comes the veteran in the 333.
James Vining with a great run on the inside. Outstanding performance so far from James Vining in the 333. He is making a move for the lead as he poked his nose low, but ran out of momentum as Frazier kind of took the draft away from both West and Vining, just kind of slid right in the middle there. And he put himself in the perfect position there, Justin. Put himself in a spot where he was able to cut the nose off of both of them, but not fall into the sucker hole in the middle there.
That time, West Jr. elects to send the run to the back end of Frazier's car, not sending the pass this time. And after seeing what happened, do you try and send it hard and aggressively to try and take the lead, or do you conserve the tires? What we've seen for the 55 might have been leaning towards the latter.
I would probably be conserving at least for the first couple laps and just see who's going to do what and who's going to make those aggressive moves, so I can try to gauge what I was going to do next based around what they're doing. Ooh, a slide there from one car. I believe that was Weaver, who got wicked loose there off turn number 2, battling with Brock Denny, and that's going to open the door for Sean Brightsman in the 46 to come up to the outside of Bruce Lee Weaver. So a big save there from Bruce Lee Weaver. But going back to your question, I would probably be conservative for at least the first 2 or 3 laps to see what was going on around me, and then try to turn it up and see what happens.
Top 5 electing to stay single file this time, heading into turn 1. 79 laps to go this time by. Weaver now joins the back end of that now 6-car train up at the front. However, you can see if you can get to the outside of a car off of turn 2 and force the car below to check up, you can get the run of momentum, and that's what Brightsman's just done to make the move. Thurston is also now trying to follow through and use the draft of the Toyota Camry in front to follow the train. Doesn't work as well, though, and down the front.
And we haven't really talked a whole lot about James Thurston over the last few weeks. A good run for him as well, starting in 7th, is now up in the 8th position as he's side by side with Corey Walters in the 9. So James Thurston having a good run in the number 2. And he's bringing Roy Grande with him now on the outside. And Grande had a good run going at Kansas last week before getting caught up in an accident. So another good run for Roy Grande. Remember, his career best Northwest Racing Series finish was a few weeks ago at Bristol. He finished 2nd in the trucks race and has had a few good runs since then. So Roy Grande beginning to find a little bit of a groove here.
The Triple Two machine, though, losing a bit of groove, lost 1 position to Lee Weaver. Side by side, though, for the race lead. West Jr. has the run on the outside. Frazier, though, still defending the bottom, able to hold on for the time being. And this is continuing to force both the West to try and use up their equipment to try and get by the driver in clean air here.
And the one that could be the benefactor of that would be the number 333 of James Vinan, as he has kind of gone off into reassess mode here behind Devin West in the 4th position. He's kind of riding it right now and kind of gauging his next move. He's staying in the tire tracks with Devin right now, seeing what he's doing so he can plan his next move accordingly. As you see it right there, he was thinking about going to the inside. Bruce Lee Weaver, after making that big save, right back up in the top 5. Great recovery for the 40 of Bruce Lee Weaver, who's got a run on James Vining, and Vining has to go on defense to try to get a better line through turns 1 and 2. Weaver recognizes that, and he goes to the inside.
Very calculated this time. These drivers on this run, especially West Jr., again sends the run just a little tiny tap. The back end of the Ford Mustang in front of him. First side-by-side, though, is between Thurston and one of the drivers falling back now in this run. Denny, after having a good start to the race, he's dropping back in fast. Has lost a couple spots in the past 2-3 laps.
That could be the experience factor of not having a lot of seat time on a track such as Michigan coming into play here for Brock Denny in the Triple Two. A great qualifying effort to get the pole in your debut and a good start, but once he got mired back in traffic, he was kind of struggling a little bit. Seems to be recovering nicely now in the Triple Two, settling things down. Speaking of nice recoveries, how about the 37 of Caden Anderson, already back to 11th position after missing his stall on pit road, and he may have broken into the top 10 coming in the line as Roy Grande is behind him, was being scored ahead of him last time. Caden Anderson already back in the top 10, and he is coming in a hurry in that 37.
And remember, he's got a 1-lap fuel advantage in the tank as well, able to get by near 3 wide to make a pass on Brightsman and Walters. One thing to note, Scott Mann, who is still holding on to a top 10 position, ducked his car down the pit lane. He is done for the day. He is the first DNF of the race in the 90.
So we don't get to see yet the situation of tires with the 2-tire stop and what happened as those connection issues may have got too much to handle for the number 90, the Pennzoil entry. So we're going to have to wait and see on what that has in the long run, the 2 tires. But we're seeing a good battle brewing once again for the race lead as Dan West Jr. not going away from Seth Frazier, who's led the most laps thus far in the number 32 after starting in the 2nd position. But Devin West up from 18th to 3rd. Bruce Lee Weaver up from 20th to 4th. Couple of drivers moving up 15 plus positions already.
Here goes West Jr. He's had enough of trying to save. Trying to send it hard up the inside. Floors it to the point. Crossover move coming from Frazier, though. We'll see if Frazier elects to take the chance. No, goes for the cross-up move on the high side. Side by side of the stripe heading into turn 1.
Look at Bruce Lee Weaver, though, getting a run on the inside, so he might be going with Dan West Jr., and that's big because that disallows Devin to make a run with his father, at least for the time being here, as Dan lost some momentum. Whoa, Devin's going to say, no, I'm going to go ahead and force my way in. No, I'm going to back out of it. And as Weaver had to check up, Devin gets back up in front of Thurston, who's doing another fantastic job. He's up in the top 5 now, has help from Denny. Outside seems to be the preferred lane right now, but Weaver, Vining, and others trying to get the inside lane to work. Wow, Caden Anderson and Corey Walters almost got together. There's about half an inch between them coming off turn 4 there.
Now, Walters still going now at the back end of the train, though. Currently, the lead pack features 16 cars, all separated by just a 1.5 seconds here at Michigan. Looking for the back end right now with Devin West, and still trying to poke his way to the top. No, there's a car there. Thurston now making the move on the high side in the GG Motorsports machine.
Brock Denny sticking with Thurston. That's your first side-by-side battle. It's for the third spot, and Devin gets the run on the inside and gets a run at his father, Dan. Seth Frazier's loving seeing that side-by-side battle because that allows him to focus 100% on what's out the windshield for the time being and not worry about what's going on behind him. And I'm not sure he wants to look behind him because it is a hornet's nest back here. Brock Denny, Sean Brightsman, Caden Anderson, Bruce Lee Weaver. They're 3 wide there between Weaver, Anderson, and Brightsman. That is for 6th, 7th, and 8th. And the rest of the field settling down behind him. James Vining up there. Roy Grande making his way back into the picture. This is spectacular racing at Michigan.
Yeah, this has been exciting. Could also be nerve-wracking, though, especially with constant side-by-side battling in any wrong move. Can lose you at least a few tenths in a lap. It can take multiple laps to recover. Frazier trying to break the toe on Devin West. Dan West Jr. takes advantage, moves up to second. James Thurston, though, is still trying to follow the 55 now. Try and get around Devin West. Out of turn 2. Big bobble for the 16 and for Weaver. Both of them saved it.
Yeah, Weaver's going to be one of the bigger losers on that one as he lost quite a few spots. Devin West's going to lose a few as well as he now falls side by side with Brightsman trying to fight back now in the 16. I'm curious to see if Caden Anderson elects to dive down and go with him. He's thinking about it, but I think he was a little bit too far ahead of the 16, so he just decided, you know what, I'm going to finish my run as is here and stick with Brightsman for now. Frazier's opened up a little bit of a gap, but that's going out the window as here comes Dan West with help from James Thurston now. Right back up on the back bumper of Frazier's side-by-side battle for fourth. Oh, West came up in front of Denny, hit the wall, and we got it right.
4-car spinning caution flag is out. Grande's involved. The newcomer and Denny is involved. Devin West involved. Anderson also collected. Caution flag is out once more in Michigan after a crash down the back straightaway. And West made contact trying to come up down the back stretch, it appeared.
Thought he had Denny clear and just wasn't quite clear enough. And disaster struck.
He was almost clear, but just got the edge of the Camaro's front end right there.
That's a tough one, though, for several drivers because that was several drivers who were having very, very strong runs. West, Denny having an outstanding debut. Caden Anderson was able to keep going, but he may have some damage on the 37. We'll see what happens with the 37 car as caution is out for the third time on lap 33 of this one, Justin. And it's been the Seth Frazier show up front thus far as he has led the most laps, but it has not been easy for him.
Yeah, he's had to play defense a good third of that time up at the front of the field. Important pit stops, though, coming up. By the way, for Anderson, you talked about how he got through a lot of that. Did get some right side panel damage on his car, while Brightsman has a crushed in right front nose. We'll see if they elect to take the damage repair or if they take the fast repair in this caution flag.
Well, if I'm Caden Anderson, I was able to prove that I can get up to the front, so we'll see if he just elects to stick with the damage or stick with the casual damage repair and keep that fast repair for later as they go to work on pit road.
Anderson appears to have that side where he's going to at least keep the track position, it appears. Brightsman did come out and take the fast repair for comparison's sake. But Frazier, West Jr., Thurston, Anderson, Brightsman rounds out the top 5 off the pit lane as they all prioritize the track position. Everybody else, though, 17th, 18th on back, taking significant time here to take the tow truck, use their fast repair, or, in case of a couple others, take the damage repair.
Well, if I was Sean Brightsman, I would almost have to take the fast repair because it's front end damage, Justin. And even if you try to stay in and get it repaired, if it's too much, that is going to cripple you here if you get in a position where you lose touch with the draft. And the more damage you have, the harder it is to draft. So Brightsman, I'm not surprised at all to see him take the fast repair. Yeah. Anderson, he was in a position that he may or may not have gotten away with it. So We'll see how he goes the rest of the race, but Anderson erring on the side of caution there to keep the track position.
There's concern, though, and it's almost a concern for some of the top drivers in all of iRacing, Greg, where they feel getting side damage is more costly than getting front nose damage in some cases, because you can break the exhaust system at the side of the car. It will affect your side force. It could affect how straight line speed still is factored in. You can actually get a fair amount of engine damage just from a hit to the side of the car.
So we'll see how that develops throughout the course of the race. And what's going to happen, Justin, if someone who's already used their fast repair gets into that position where they just get a hit and it doesn't feel bad, but all of a sudden their car is crippled like that, they are going to be stuck without a paddle, because it's going to be a long day the rest of the way if some of these drivers who have already used their fast repair find themselves in that position once again.
Should note that a couple drivers have elected it to call it a day after that caution. Hutchinson done for the day. Roy Grande, the third DNF as well of the race. So Hutchinson, Grande, and Mann already done for the race. Jennings and Washington did not make it onto the racetrack after missing the start. So 26 cars all remain, all of them on the lead lap here. And as we've already seen in this race so far, the pack broke up fairly quickly. Suction back up between two different groupings by the end of 3-4 laps. The top 16 ran away from 17th on back, Greg.
Justin, you mentioned that all cars are back on the lead lap. That means Brian Barnes in the Ford got the lucky dog he was after, so he's back on the lead lap. He qualified in the top 10, so we know that that Ford car has some speed. So there's another driver to keep your eye on to try to make his way back through the field. He has not made a whole lot of starts in the Northwest Racing Series this year on the Cup side, but when he does, we know he's fast, and we know he's fast today with this top 10 qualifying start or spot. So the 4-car, Brian Barnes, going to be making some moves coming up through the field here early.
Indeed, as the one-to-go signals now on the racetrack. Let's get a recap your top 10 running order. Frazier, West Jr., Thurston Anderson, Brightsman, Weaver, Vining, Johnson, Ottenbacher, Chris White round out the top 10. Of note, Ottenbacher, White have already had to use fast repairs. Johnson also has had to use a fast repair. Brightsman has also had to use a fast repair. Anderson does have damage here. Your expectations of what we're about to see here, because it's a one-stopper now in the fuel, mind you.
It's a one-stopper on fuel, but it's going to be interesting to see how they develop in the next few laps, especially with a couple of cars with damage up at the front. So it'll be odd to see how it all unfolds, and I'm very curious to keep my eye on around 4th, 5th, and 6th on this restart, and we'll see how long we can go this time around.
Indeed here. Frazier has led the most laps so far. Currently, average pace has been around the 39.4s under green flag conditions in the past 5. We'll see how they go when the green flag drops for the next 5+. Bernard's car looking to stay in control of the field. Thurston looking to try and aim behind him. West Jr. trying to time up beside him. Pace car drops off the track. Green flag waits up at the stand. Back underway from Michigan we go.
Frazier coming up to speed. Great restart once again on the 32. Keep your eyes on the 37 of Caden Anderson. We'll see how that car handles here these first couple of laps on this green flag run, as he is side by side with Thurston for third.
Still trying to run on the bottom side. Anderson nearly got contact with Lee Weaver. Weaver trying to poke his way now down the back straightaway. Can't get himself by the 2 machine, but the 2 floors it in. Able to take away second. West Jr. forced to check up.
West Jr. losing second spot to Thurston, so number 2 to P2 now. This is the highest that James Thurston has been in quite some time here in the Cup Series, Justin, because we haven't gotten to talk a whole lot about him this season, and boy, he is having an outstanding effort here. Started 7th, up in 2nd right now.
Absolutely, still holding on to the 2nd position. And it's similar to what we've seen the last one. Everyone's getting single file, save tires, save temps, stay calm, get yourself into a rhythm. And once you feel like the tires are up to temps, it seems, Then they start wanting to get the track position they are all hungry for. Mind you, a lot of cars have gained positive track position inside the top 10. In some cases, double-digit position gains from the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, we've seen drivers from around the 21st, 22nd position, all up in the top 10, 24th as well. And that is Chris White in the 83, who started 24th up to the 9th position, battling for, I believe, the 8th position right now. Actually, no, he's still battling for 10th with Frank Harris. But Chris White, let's talk about him. He finished second last week at Kansas after having an outstanding run, got caught up in an accident midway through the race, fought his way back to finish second. Very similar situation here as it comes to fighting through the field.
Battle for the lead back on, though, in front of White. He tries to follow along as Thurston tries to be the leader on the outside line. Just can't get it to stick, though, to take away that line for corner exit on Frazier. And Anderson, seems like that damage isn't affecting him too much. Still keeping within range of the top 3 here.
Ford trying to pull away from 2 Chevys right now with the Toyota backing up in 4th. Where did Sean Brightsman come from? We've said that before. He's up in the 4th position now in the LSR-TV Toyota. Started in the 21st position, has made his way up to the top 5. No strategy calls needed yet on the 46 car, but that call is still pending on the rest of the race. But here we go again for the lead. Thurston to the outside.
Still can't get that line to work, and this time Frazier able to arc it back up for the good corner exit. You can see in the backdrop, though, what happens if you're able to give a good squeeze from the bottom side to the car on the top side, too. Lee Weaver was able to make the move, while a caution is out on the back straightaway. 2-3 cars stopped on the apron. Involved Dan Stuzzi, Brian Barnes in the incident, BJ Tidrick also in the vicinity.
And that should probably end the day for Dan Stuzzi, because he had already used the fast repair in the 78 car, so that's his second major accident of the day. Brian Barnes, that's unfortunate because he also had used the fast repair and had finally gotten back up to the lead lap, and just a couple laps into the run. Actually, Stuzzi doesn't have as much damage as we thought, so he's able to continue. But man, that is a heartbreaker, at least for Brian Barnes, who had just gotten himself back on the lead lap, and now he's got damage all over again.
Yeah, Stuzzi ended up, as you've seen, tapping the outside safer barrier, pinpointing down to Barnes, and collecting the 4 machine. BJ Tidrick also was able to dodge it down the back straightaway after being the furthest back compared to the other car. So Stuzzi with some damage, Barnes again with some damage. Remember, has been multiple laps down due to said damage. See what they elect to do here, but this makes the pit strategy very intriguing. 58 to go at the stripe, about 45 laps is the fuel number, and Frazier stays out. Anderson does too. Weaver joins them. A split call here.
Devin West staying out as well in the back there, so very interesting there, Justin. We only got, I believe, 5 or 6 laps on that run, maybe a little bit more. So interesting. We'll see how it goes. And this opens the door also for some split strategy on pit road as well. Do you think now we're going to start seeing guys think about it?
Well, we have to see. We ran some more numbers from before, and a couple drivers indeed did take 2, including the man you're following along with. Thurston comes the first man off the pit lane on 2 tires. Onenbacher, same call. Denny, same call as well to get back up to 9th position. Carl Burke was involved in the big one on lap 1. Also took 2 tires to move up to 12th position. Everybody else who came down took 4 tires and fuel. So now it gets very interesting, and you talked about it before. We didn't get the true test with man. We're about to see the true test now.
We're going to see a couple of true tests here. We're going to see 2 tires. We're going to see no tires. We're going to see 4 tires. We've got everybody on different strategies out here, so this is going to be fun on this restart. Looks like 4 cars elected to stay out, as you counted, what, 4 cars on 2 tires as well?
Yeah, in total, 4 cars took 2 tires.
So 4, and then the field. Going to be interesting, as the first car on 4 tires will be starting in the 9th position once the green flag falls.
Check that 7, that's Brightsman. Remember, Denny and Burke also took 2, but they didn't get past the drivers on 4 tires based on the track position. But while we get the chance, mind you, we were talking a bit about the experience of Brock Denny, and one of the newcomers, a multiple-time track champion out in the Northwest. What are your thoughts on the driver of the 222?
He's a very talented driver, multi-time track champion in multiple cars at Montana Raceway Park in Kalispell, Montana. It's very unfortunate that they are not able to run a season this year for 2020, and that was announced long before the current pandemic began. So that is not related to that. That's unfortunate, and we're hoping that that track can come back. But Brock Denny, we all knew he was good when he came to a racetrack he had never competed on, Yakima Speedway, a half-mile oval in Yakima, Washington. Competed in a 44-car late model field for his first time on the track and finished second in a 75-lap race. From that moment on, we knew that young man had talent, and he is fresh off of a win at Meridian Speedway in Meridian, Idaho, just this past Saturday. And Justin, he had damage in practice, hit the wall, got stuck on 2 tires on the wall, couldn't find the patch repair button, so he had to actually do it manually, but still came back out and won the race. So outstanding effort by Brock Denny in Meridian, Idaho last week, following up here with a very impressive Northwest Racing Series debut.
Absolutely. He's been up and down the grid, yes, but he's been essentially in the top 10 about 2/3 of the running today here at Michigan. See how he is when the green flag drops once more. Frazier is the race leader, Anderson second, Weaver, Devin West, Thurston, Ottenbacher, Brightsman, West Jr., Denny, Johnson. Round out the top 10, specifically Brett Johnson. One to go signal on the racetrack here, and it's been difficult to find any way around the 32. He's kept clean air since he made the pass coming in through turn number 1 on Denny, and has not looked back since.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Seth Frazier has had such an outstanding effort, but Caden Anderson to his outside, and reports coming from the 37 pit that Caden Anderson is okay with how the car is driving right now despite the damage. So 37 car still liking what he's got under him right now. That may be why he elected to not repair the damage, as Caden Anderson feels that the car under him is still competitive as is.
Good to hear if you're a fan of Caden Anderson in that 37 machine. But we talked about the ups and downs for Frazier since his back-to-back victories in races 2 and 3 in the campaign at Las Vegas and Rockingham. This has been his most dominant performance since, well, last week, where he led 31 laps at Kansas.
Yeah, it's been an outstanding effort for Seth Frazier, who, after 2 wins early in the season, has really struggled and had such a strong run going at Kansas last week before getting caught up in that late race accident. Led laps, ran in the top 5 virtually the whole race, has led essentially the entire first half. I believe only a couple of other one-off leaders throughout the course of the day other than the 32. An outstanding effort by Frazier here today. He's got another restart, and he's got it, but he's on old tires, as there are multiple strategies as we go green.
Remember, the top 4 drivers all stayed out during this caution flag period. Then 2 tires, about 6th, 5th on back rather. 7th is where you find the first driver on 4 tires, as Frazier retakes the point. But look at this. Bruce Weaver nearly weaved his way up to the top to take second.
He's another one who's having an outstanding performance tonight. Bruce Lee Weaver in the 40, started 20th, up in the 3rd spot, contending for 2nd right now. James Thurston, another one who's having a great effort. We are seeing some great efforts from drivers we haven't talked about a whole lot this season, and they got to be happy that they're getting some LSRTV time here in this race, running up at the front. Devin West caught up in that accident a few laps ago. He's back in the top 5 after using his fast repair.
Devin West charging his way back up to the field. Slide up for Weaver. Nearly made door-to-door contact. A couple drivers have made passes by trying to squeeze a little bit more down, coming through turn 1 and 2. Finds his way to the top. Thurston takes advantage of the slide up for the corner entry. Ottenbacher falling through the revolving door, and here come the pressure tires.
Pressure tires beginning to take effect. Remember, Thurston on 2 tires, as is Ottenbacher, getting around Bruce Lee Weaver, who did not pit. Top 3 on no tires, and then Thurston and Ottenbacher leading the 2-tire brigade. before Brightsman and West Jr., who are side by side right now. Those are the first two cars on 4 tires. Brock Denny in the 222, I believe you mentioned he was one of the ones who took 2 tires. He's hanging in there right now in the 222. Currently on the outside of Chris White. That's a battle for 9th. Give it to Denny going into turn 3 right now as he gets a good run. Thurston able to clear Weavers, so the 2 tires are beginning to come in here as they're up to 3rd and or 4th and 5th, but they're 3 wide behind him.
Seeing right there one of the risks of staying on the old tires. Having a lift through the corners. Weaver taking advantage of on that near 3 wide. Now Dan West Jr. makes the move. Breitzman now trying to give him the pinch up this time in turn 2. Weaver, though, stands firm this time. Bit of a bobble, though, nearly smacked the wall.
Yeah, Bruce Lee Weaver, we're seeing it now. Those old tires are really starting to come into play as now he's falling into the clutches of the drivers on 4 tires. West Jr., Breitzman gets around him. Denny on 2 tires, but was too far back to make a move. White coming around now. He's on 4 as they are fanning out, but Caden Anderson not going away from Seth Frazier, but here comes Thurston on 2 tires.
Just up the road from where White is right now. Thurston trying to make his move now. A narrow driver on older tires. Can his 2 tires work out well? Bit of a bobble? No. Can't get clear, makes contact. Big slide for the 2. Locks it up, keeps it off the wall. We stay green.
Staying green, a bobble, and some contact with Devin West in the 16 car was what led to that. And James Thurston has such a strong run going, and unfortunately now he's going to need a caution to get himself back in this one.
Also bad news if you're a fan of Brett Johnson, just lost his track position majorly due to technical issues. He's been now cycled to the back part of the field after disappearing off the circuit for a good 5 seconds. Focus, though, goes back up to the front. That's where Dan West Jr., now the first car on 4 tires, is saying hello to his son in a chance of the top 3.
Remember, Devin stayed out to gain track position. Dan is on 4 tires. He has gotten around John Ottenbacher, who restarted on 2 tires now. And here comes Dan to the inside of his son. Top 3 right now on older tires, but the new tires are beginning to make their play because here comes Dan to the inside of his son. And boy, they were separated by just 1/1000th of a second that time by, as now we're starting to see what the old tires have against the new tires because Dan West Jr. is coming in a hurry. Look at the LSR TV cars behind them. Ottenbacher and Breitzman battling for 5th.
Indeed, they're charging right on back. West Jr. electing to stay on the low side. Charges it hard underneath the sun. Battle between 2 West racing machines. Still stays side by side, and the more these cars fight side by side, the more antsy the other cars may get here. Breitzman thought about making it 3 wide before West Jr. cut off the bottom.
Breitzman's not done thinking about it yet, though, as he was peeking and sniffing the inside as Dan is able to get away from him and go after his son Devin. Seth Frazier leading the way, Caden Anderson in a second, and I think those 2 are probably hoping they can catch another caution right about now because they are in trouble if West and Breitzman can get up there. Here comes Chris White to the inside and Brock Denny hanging in there on 2 tires. The 222 hanging in there as well.
Pack separated by just about 0.6 of a second amongst the top 8 drivers. West Jr. finally clear of his son. Breitzman now following the trough, so is Chris White for the battle for second. Anderson trying to hold firm on the outside in the Harvest Chevrolet. Bit of a slide, though, on that banking in the seam, though, for West Jr.
Anderson fights back on the outside, and Dan West Jr. gets in behind Caden, so Anderson able to hold on to second for the time being, but West, he might lose that inside spot if he can't get down there soon because here comes Breitzman with a run in the 46. West was not able to get a run on Anderson as Anderson went on defense to keep him behind him. Seth Frazier still leading the way as we're past halfway. A side-by-side battle for 3rd between 2 drivers who took 4 tires, the 46 and the 55. Here they come back at the top 2 as look who's coming up in to try to catch this. Frank Harris having a good run, 29th to 9th now, and he is tagged onto the back of the and right as we talk about him, he hits the wall.
Well, the commentator's curve struck very quickly for the 11. There goes the top 10 run, one of the best runs he's had all season. Now thrown right out the window with the right side damage. Mind you, 45 laps to go this time by. Battle for second now side by side up the road. West Jr. side drafted Anderson. Brightsman forced to check up. Move the 55 up into second now.
Old tires are really starting to fall off now as Frazier continues to lead, but to the inside, Dan West Jr. and Sean Brightsman, those are the two hottest drivers in the series right now on the inside line. Frazier, though, still holding on. The 32 showing that he's got a lot of speed in that Ford Mustang tonight. And Anderson not going away either as he got a good run there on West. Had to check up, though. That's going to open the door for Devin West to the inside.
Not only that, that side-by-side slowed them up at the head of the field so much that the second pack is now closed on in. Remember, it's just the top 8 before. Now, guess what? The train has now expanded to 17 cars, covered now by just 2 seconds. And Stabno, mind you, is in it.
Yeah, we were just getting ready to talk about that. Jeff Stabno, we haven't mentioned him once tonight. He started 23rd position. He has quietly worked his way up to 11th now in that number 24 car, the Bristol winner and the Roval winner, quietly making his way up through the field here from 23rd to 11th. So a good run for Stabno.
Back and forth now for the race lead. West Jr. sent it hard in turn 3. Frazier takes it back out of turn 4. Frazier leads the lap. Now Brightsman now taking advantage of that move. West Jr. tries to send it again to the inside. This time can't make it stick though in 1 and 2. And now this is where it gets interesting. Remember, this is all the differences in the tires, but remember there's also the differences in the fuel numbers here. They're inside the fuel number to make it.
Let's see how they go about it here. They can make it from here on fuel as West now sizing up his next move on Frazier, who has continued to lead a majority of the race. The iRacing Northwest Tour champion, the 32 of Frazier, having a great run here today, but here comes Dan West Jr. to the inside, not going away. It looks like he may finally have him clear if he can get this exit off of 2. No, he's checked up, and that's going to allow Frazier to come back.
Once again, if you run below the first seam in 1 and 2, there's the chance you snap loose. Just happened to West Jr., and guess what, Greg? That just shuffled him back to 3rd position because of that mistake again.
And was thinking about this when West made that move for the lead the last time and got shuffled back. Was it this facility that Carl Edwards threw the famous video game slider on Jimmy Johnson, or was that Auto Club?
No, that was actually at one of the mile and a halves.
Oh, couldn't remember which track it was, but the move that West Jr. made there kind of reminded me a little bit of that. So I was wondering if we were going to possibly see that become more and more of a factor.
West Jr., though, got shuffled out by his son back to 4th position. Chris White, though, you've talked about him a couple times in that AmSoil Interstate Synthetics machine. That car, looking now to have back-to-back great performances here, now is joining the party inside the top 5 for the first time, plus 19.
Yeah, great job by Chris White in the 83. Great follow-up to his performance last week at Kansas, where he came up ever so close to that win with the battle with Sean Brightsman there. Lost my train of thought for a second watching the train make its way down the backstretch. Look at the West right in front of Chris White that we're talking about. They have found each other and are settling down. And Devin West on old tires, Seth Frazier on old tires, Canyon Anderson on old tires, all hanging in the top 6 right now on those old tires. Great efforts by those 3 right now.
Yeah, I'm surprised how well Frazier's been able to hold on the 10-lap older tires. Remember, though, he's had clean air much of this run, and that's a big difference, Gray, compared to what the others who tried that had. Mind you, we talked about this a few dozen times, it seems, this season. The dirty air adds an extra at least 20-30% of tire wear because it makes you tighter the more closer you get to the cars in front, the longer the run.
And that is probably what is allowing Frazier to hang on to the lead as much as he has been able to so far. He has been out in clean air for pretty much the entirety of this race, not just this run. So he has been able to use that clean air to his advantage, and with that almost is equalizing out those old tires. But Devin West and Canyon Anderson both are doing spectacular jobs in the dirty air on old tires to hang in there with them.
Now, been very impressive, but here comes Dan West Jr. See there the middle line. Brightsman getting a shot right now to the right side of the 16. Actually, it allows Devin West to now try the move for second position to try and rip it on back away. Looks like Frazier might be able to try and capitalize on this again. We've seen him snake his way down the straightaways to give everyone different toes. This time not giving anybody the draft.
Yeah, smart move there by Frazier. That was a defensive move there to keep everyone at bay. Chris White did a good job coming off turn 4 there to get a run on Dan West Jr. It doesn't go anywhere for him as he has to back out and try again here off of turn number 2, and this allows Anderson to creep his way back up. Carl Burke also on 2 tires is hanging with John Ottenbacher. So Burke, remember, was the 4th driver to take 2 tires there with Denny, or with Brock Denny, John Ottenbacher, and I can't remember the 4th one now, but Carl Burke was one of those drivers to take 2 tires, and he has been quietly hanging in there as well as a battle breaking out for the lead. Brightsman, he was the one who took 2 tires as well. He's on 2 tires going for the lead.
Brightsman's on 4, in fact, as Brightsman not able to complete the pass. Might try the cross, no. Frazier forces the checkup. Devin West also forced the checkup. Still getting a bit dicey here, but now we're approaching to the point where all the drivers who stayed out have to think about how they time this up. The undercut, mind you, Greg, is extremely powerful at Michigan. Some of the top drivers, when official races come here, can win if they time it right by as much as 5-10 seconds, the gap between them and the others who pit just 10 laps later. How do you feel it's going to be played here, especially since Frazier, Devin West, Caden Anderson are all basically forced to work together on that strategy call?
We will see how it unfolds, and honestly, if I'm the 32, I am in communications with the 16 and the 37 saying, hey, we need to pit on the same lap here and help each other out, because if they get thrown off of that sequence, that could be dire for the one who has to spend that much more time on pit road because they are by themselves. So if the 32, Frazier, the 16, and the 37 can work together, they might be able to make this work. I don't think they were expecting this long of a run out of this, though.
Yeah, it's actually worked out the gamble for West and Frazier, not as much for Anderson. Walters dropped all the way back to 12th position, by the way, out just to the edge of the lead pack. Still dicing behind them, too. Still side by side behind Frazier between West and Brightsman. But here's the other point, though, Greg, to bring up in that conversation is, at the same time, if you don't get somebody to draft with, you can lose up to 6 to 8 tenths of a second at Michigan a lap.
And that's going to be killer the later this run goes, because that tire wear is getting to that point now that it is really starting to take effect on these cars. So if you lose that and you lose the draft, it's going to be a huge dagger, and one you might not be able to recover if we stay green the rest of the way.
Side by side for third once again, Dan West Jr. drafting off his son. But as we've seen all day today, it's been like a revolving door for some of these positions. Whoever gets the best run off the corner, able to hold on as much momentum as they can, and then try to keep the draft down the straightaways, likely is able to keep the spot. If you don't have draft in front, or can't keep the momentum off, or bobble loose, or get too tight, you get shuffled out. Brightsman back up to fourth position rather. Chris White still falling behind in 5th, is able to complete the pass back again on Anderson as they've been fighting as well.
Here we go, setting up once again. Chris White able to get back around Anderson, Ottenbacher, and Burke, 2 of the 2-tire cars hanging in there. It was James Thurston, the 4th driver, who took 2 tires, and he got shuffled to the back after that incident about 15-20 laps ago, as White now peeking to the outside of Brightsman, who has fallen back to 4th after just a couple of laps ago, going after Seth Frazier. And this is allowing 2 of the drivers who stayed out on that last caution, Seth Frazier and Devin West, to run 1-2 right now, and Devin was peeking on Frazier just now.
Chris White falls on through a bit of a bobble behind them. Ottenbacher and Burke went a bit out of shape as Ottenbacher nearly snapped off of turn 2. Broke up the pack into 2 small groups now, and Ottenbacher looks like he might be thinking of coming to the bottom side. Yes, indeed, Ottenbacher's calling an audible. He's pitting.
So John Ottenbacher coming in, and that's going to throw him off of that strategy there. And he is all by himself, Justin.
Same scenario, by the way, for Brian Barnes, who has already lost a lap. He pit as well last time by, just got passed by the leaders. So pit window is open, under 30 laps to go. We're moments away from finding out how the leaders handle this. Remember, Frazier, Devin West Jr., and a couple others are in that scenario where they can go maybe another 8 laps at the most.
See how it all unfolds from here inside the pit window. So this could be the money stop, as the top 3 have broken away a little bit now from White and Breitzman. Burke back there as well. Caden Anderson is really beginning to lose ground now, as he has fallen back to the 8th position. Brock Denny gets around him, another one of the 2-tire drivers, and quietly making his way now inside the top 10 is Jeff Stabnow, the 24. He's up to 9th.
And talk about Stabnow and how he's been able to overcome damage here. Greg, he's had damage on the right front fender. It's just been quietly and methodically running his way on forward, similar to what we've seen with Breitzman with last race at Kansas.
Yeah, he's been very quietly making his way up, and it worked out for Breitzman in the end there. So let's see if Stabnow can make it back-to-back in that aspect. Remember, Stabnow was one of the dominant cars in that Kansas race, so you know he wants it back after he and Frazier got caught up in that late race accident. He wants that one back. He's trying to get it back tonight here at Michigan. So Stabnow could have an opportunity here before too long.
Indeed, by the way, Ottenbacher had to serve a penalty for speeding. We've seen him clip the grass when he entered the run, so he's now 2 laps down to the racetrack, just about. Last car 1 lap down in 26th position. Only a little bit ahead or so compared to the leaders. Timing and scoring does indeed make him 2. There goes BJ Tidrick now going down to the pit lane. Most drivers, it looks like here, are electing to try and stretch it just in case because of what has happened a couple times throughout the past few runs.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see these next couple laps unfold here, Justin. As the final round of pit stops begin, we got a interesting update, Justin. The Northwest Racing Series race is in a little bit of a weather situation, as our studio on LSR TV is in the midst of a thunderstorm right now.
See what happens with that scenario. Keep you informed if there is a factor on the broadcast. Stabnow, though, did pit this time by. James Biden also came down this time to serve their pit stops of this strategy. We'll see where they cycle around here. Seth Frazier has also indicated just now to his fellow competitors he is now pitting. So end of the tank now for the drivers on old tires. Devin West staying out with Dan West Jr. Chris White joining the 32 down the pit lane.
And everyone else staying out except for Brett Johnson in the 7 is the next car to pit. So Anderson and West going to try to stretch it an extra lap. Devin West has that advantage of being in front of his father. He can kind of half throttle it this lap to try to make it around for another lap. And he may be trying to stretch it as far as he can to maybe try to pit with his father. If Dan decides to pit this time, it could be a big benefactor for Devin West once it's all said and done. As West goes low, Dan West Jr. going high. Looks like Devin might be coming this time.
And look at this, Breitzman also coming in, takes advantage of the early pit out of the window sign. Breitzman gains a second or so, driving around the 16 on the high side.
Great job by Breitzman there to muscle around Devin on pit road. Caden Anderson with him in the 37. So we'll see now if Anderson elects to take the fast repair with that damage on the 37 car. Now would be the time to use it, as we saw he was able to hang with the field for a majority of it, but we'll see how it all unfolds here the rest of the way, as Dan West Jr. leads it now with Carl Burke in second.
Dan West Jr. still has about 6 to 8 laps on the field, give or take, and knows that he's a sitting duck if he continues. Decides to pit, try and match some of the other cars. And mind you, even 2 laps difference at Michigan and Auto Club at these types of 2-mile circuits can be pretty significant. Yes, you lose the time, but it's big when you try and make a move.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how it all settles down. Dan West Jr., he may have been trying to get to pit road with his son Devin, but Brightsman getting his way on the inside or the outside of Devin there to get around him. He was on the inside of Dan West Jr. and kind of blocking the pit lane entry almost. So I wonder if Dan was trying to get down with his son Devin, but Brightsman was able to split them up there.
Taking a look right now, Brian Barnes still chugging along. Remember, he had just came out of the pits. One of the earliest cars already gets passed by Ottenbacher and Frazier. Ottenbacher gets lapped one, gets still trying to gain one of the laps towards his direction. Brightsman trying to keep up with the net race leader. Only Burke and Bruce Lee Weaver have yet to pit. They lead by a good 37 seconds.
Yeah, it'll be just a couple more laps before we see Burke and Weaver, no doubt. And Burke, he was one of the ones who pitted for 2 tires. He's on his way down pit road now. Bruce Lee Weaver, who is still chugging along, was one of those drivers who stayed out, and he's going to lead that lap. So Bruce Lee Weaver has stretched it from that last restart to now, here at 20 laps to go. So we now have a good idea of how long they're able to take a tank of fuel here. So good notes maybe for a time we may return to this track, how long it'll take, as Bruce Lee Weaver doing a great job there to recover after having that slip up. Kind of slid outside of the top 10, but is going to get credit for leading the lap here.
See if he dumps it down the track. No, in fact, going to be able to stretch it one more lap. However, drivers are getting their laps back, as you see on the inside line. That's the 222 driving his way on by. Denny now moves his way back. That's the 26th place car at the moment, though. Mind you, it's a tricky pit lane to enter because you have to make sure you don't clip the grass on the inside line, make sure you don't have any wheel hop, make sure you don't slide into the safer barrier on the outside line of the pit lane. A couple drivers were booked for speeding. Denny, Anderson, Ottenbacher amongst the drivers caught speeding in the lane, Greg.
And that's got to be a dagger for him, and a hard pill to swallow, because two and three of those drivers, all 3 of them actually were having stellar runs here at this race. So that's just a heartbreaker for all 3 of those guys to have such strong runs here and have it end that way. It's got to be a tough pill to swallow for him, as the battle is breaking out now for what will be the race lead. Brightsman to the inside of Frazier. He might have the spot here, the 46 and the 32. Battling side by side. This will be for the race lead once it's all said and done. Frazier with the crossover. Great job by Frazier there.
Side by side, heading down the front straightaway. This is still 28 seconds behind Bruce Lee Weaver. Coming to 18 laps to go. Frazier trying to hold on to the race lead. And look behind him as well. Chris White, John Ottenbacher, Dan West Jr., Dana Rogers, all trying to draft away in contact. Bruce Lee, Brightsman involved, Frazier involved. Caution is out. Ottenbacher also with a hard hit, and this changes everything.
They got together off turn number 2 and pounded the wall. Both of them did. Brightsman was on top of Frazier's car down the backstretch, and wow, the net race lead at the end of the pit road battle, trying to settle things amongst them. They get together, and oh boy, big shakeup now.
And Ottenbacher nowhere to go, gets smacked hard. Remember, he's used a fast repair. Brightsman's used a fast repair. Frazier has the luxury of using one and doesn't even lose a position in the process. Here's a look now from the blimp view, and just pushed up and up the track off of 2.
Man, what a heartbreak for those 2, as those are 2 of the strongest cars all day. Justin, we had Frazier, who is far and away the top car in the field, and Brightsman has been given an EOL penalty, so it looks like Sean Brightsman is going to take the responsibility for that one. But man, oh man, that is, wow, I can't even believe what we just saw.
Now let's take a look at this again. And as you said, Brightsman taking responsibility here with the EOL that shakes up the race. And you'll see Brightsman just trying to hold onto the quarter panel, and right there, they just fuse right together just about.
Changes everything, because now the 2 fastest cars have damage, so this opens up a whole new can of worms as the field still is trying to catch up to the pace car. Chris White and Seth Frazier and company are just now finally catching up to the back of the field and the pace cars. So
only 13 on the lead, lap 2, mind you, with this. And this worked perfectly for your Bruce Lee Weaver. He was just at the edge of the fuel window, mind you. Would have had to pit in about a lap or two. Now he gets the race lead from that.
And look behind him, the rest of the field is coming in. Chris White, Seth Frazier going to use the fast repair. Dan West Jr., Devin West, Brian Barnes back in the top 10 after everything that has happened. This may work out at the end, but Bruce Lee Weaver, that worked out perfectly for him as he is going to come out with the race lead so long as everything goes well on pit road here, no penalties.
He'll come off the pit lane first. You see him off and away, but as we've seen just about every caution, there's been a twist. Carl Burke this time is the Uno card saying, you thought you got the lead? I'm going to stay out this time.
And Burke was trying to recover, remember, from having such a strong run at Kansas last week, but got caught up in an accident late. So Carl Burke now pulling the strategy card. So tonight's role of Sean Brightsman will be played by car number 53, Carl Burke, with the late race strategy call. So let's see how it all unfolds.
Difference is, we were talking to Kansas, so it was a few lap run for that battle. We're talking 13, 14 laps when the green flag flies. It's easier said than done with the slipstream at Michigan.
Yeah, this is an entirely different ballgame here at Michigan than it was at Kansas. So this race not over yet by any stretch of the imagination, especially with a couple of cars on different strategies here. And that worked out perfect for Bruce Lee Weaver in the 40. You couldn't ask for it to work out better for the 40.
Yeah, and it looks like Burke is indeed electing to stay out here. Mind you, Burke, he's in the scenario where the tires are already warmed up, only about 5 laps on them, including the pace laps. Had just pit, mind you, a couple laps before that on his 2-tire call. So this should be interesting how this shakes out. Once again, to recap your top 10, Burke, Weaver in row 1. Dan West Jr. in 3rd. Chris White in 4th. Frazier took the fast repair. Keeps the track position in 5th. Devin West is in 6th. Stabnell 7th. Barnes in 8th with damage. Corey Walters with this new look Budweiser machine in 9th. Brett Johnson rounding out the top 10 of the Coca-Cola machine. And because, mind you, Burke stayed out, a couple of the cars who wanted to take waiver rounds cannot. So a couple more drivers, including the 222 of Denny, are now going to be pinned a lap down with this decision.
That's a tough break for Brock Denny, as you know that's what he was hoping for, but that is going to be huge for the 222 as he had such a strong debut race going, Justin. He was up front, started on the pole, had such a strong race going. Believe he led a lap early, so we'll see if he can catch another caution, as he will be the first car 1 lap down. So if he can catch another caution, he would be in the lucky dog position. But all in all, if you're Brock Denny, you can't be disappointed with your performance tonight. It was an outstanding effort from the 222 car. And if he can get another caution here early, he may be able to fight his way back up here and make some noise around the top 10 before it's all said and done, if he can catch one more caution.
That's the big if in that scenario. In total, 20 cars on the lead lap, a couple taking waiver rounds here as they get the one to go signal. Daryl Tidrick taking the wave round to get on the lead lap. O'Hare, Rogers, Anderson as well. See how this shakes up here. Weaver starting on the outside line, Burke on the inside. This is going to get fun here to see some different players now, and Frazier dealing with dirty air for just one of the first times tonight.
Yeah, Seth Frazier, this is the first time we're coming to a green flag that he's not on the front row all day, as he has led virtually the entire race. Justin, a couple of drivers have gotten their nose in front of him for a lap throughout the course of the race, but this is the first time all day that we're taking a green flag that Seth Frazier is not on the front row. So now we really get to see how strong that 32 car is, as he's got his work cut out for him. But he got lucky there that he was able to hang on to his position and use that fast repair after being caught up there in that yellow. So Frazier catching catching a lucky break there, circumstances considered, to still be up in the top 5. He might be able to recover from this. We'll see.
We'll see indeed. Coming to the green flag from the Detroit Automakers 200. 13 laps to go from Michigan International Speedway. Burke's already on the gas. The pace car hasn't even gone off the racetrack. Will that dictate a penalty is going to be the question. Burke off and away, and yes, Burke off the gas.
Burke got a jumping the start penalty as he went just a little bit too early, as he is going to come to a stop.
And he brought the caution. He brought the caution flag with that.
He came to a stop. That brought the caution out, and Justin, the benefactor of that one, is going to be Brock Denny. He's going to get that lucky dog we talked about.
So that's now 21 cars on the lead lap. Burke is now immediately put the car in the garage after his mistake. And now Weaver's in the race lead. So that Uno flip card we were just talking about, it just caught on fire on the desk.
That's the equivalent of getting slammed with 4+4 cards in Uno. House rules apply. You can stack them on top, and that's just what happened there.
So once again, Weaver in the lead now with that. White second, West Jr., Frazier, Stabnell the top 5, Devin West in 6, Barnes in 7, Johnson, Walters, and Bozier round out the top 10. And everybody's still trying to hunt down that safety car at the moment. That's in turn 3. So we'll see how this is all sorted out here. Remember, you cannot pass the pace car until it's made its way officially to the pit lane. The pace car hadn't even dunked below the white line yet. A couple drivers were affected. Chris White had ended up getting a black flag, will be cleared by race officials. I don't understand the call of him going that early.
He might have been a little bit too antsy there, Justin. He knew the iRacing rules, like you mentioned, are you can go as soon as the pace car is on pit road. You don't have to wait to get to the restart zone.
Yeah.
But Carl Burke, I think he just got a little bit too antsy there, and he knew it immediately because he came to a stop, immediately retired from the race after that, putting the 53 in the garage. Chris White, Bruce Lee Weaver both getting their black flag clear for advancing positions before the strike as a result of him coming to a stop there. Man, oh man, just I don't know what happened there. That is bizarre. And that puts Weaver back in the lead, and that puts Brock Denny back on the lead lap. So Brock Denny is definitely thankful for that, as we know how strong he is, and he's going to be matched up with the 37 of Anderson. So two of the strongest cars all day. They are hanging back 19th and 20th on this restart. They're going to be able to make their way up through the field, and Brock Denny coming in and saying, hey, I am going to take some tires because I'm back on the lead lap. No, nothing to lose. Brock Denny on pit road for some fresh tires here.
By the way, if you're Dan Lauder or anyone in his fan club, he was one of the drivers who was in position to take a wave, elected to come to the pit lane instead, coming to 1 to go. You're punching air right now because now he's pinned a lap down in 22nd, by the way.
That just shows how much a race can change just like that there, Justin, because no one expected something like that to happen. I guarantee you everyone was thinking, well, this is our bed to lay in, but no one expected something like that to happen.
We'll take a very quick break here in the OSR TV booth. When we come back, we'll speak with Jeff Stabnell. You're watching OSR TV, your home for sim racing. 10 laps to go for Michigan. Once again, back now with Jeff Stabnell. He joins us now in the broadcast booth. First things first, up to fifth position. Let's talk about your race first off. How are you feeling after what has been an up and down race for you?
Well, we might be in trouble here. We burned that fast repair before we completed lap 1. And I think by that caution around lap 12 or 13, I had about 30 seconds of damage, which I fixed, but I know there's still some damage. I'm a little slow until these tires burn in a little bit. So we'll see what happens here. This run might be just a little bit too short for me to make any noise.
Now, one of the main reasons we're discussing things now here with you as well is confusing sequence of events there with the very early start and the caution flag. Talk us through it from an official's perspective here with that caution flag and a couple drivers being given their chance to keep their track position after the early jump.
Yeah, as a leader, it's obviously your responsibility not to pass the pace car before you take the start. You can, it's on you, the leader, but the pace car, you can't pass the pace car. Michigan, unlike some tracks where you have that real close pit road, you've got this short lane in front of it, so the pace car can't really take this last minute dive. And so you've just got to know that you've got to hold back a little bit on that restart. 53 did not, so he got a black flag for passing the pace car, and we felt that everybody else up in the front that got the pace cars, I think there was 2 other cars that got black flagged, the 83 and the 40. They were just reacting to the leader, so we cleared their black flags.
Good call on that part. Allows them to keep the track position. There were the drivers in the front row with this 1-to-go signal now. From the driver's perspective now, what do you expect is about to happen here with it going to an 8-lap shootout here in Michigan?
Oh, I think it's going to be a little crazy. I'm expecting there to be a wreck or two, and the key is going to be to survive that. I think guys are going to flat foot this. You're going to see 3 wide, 4 wide, and it's probably going to get absolutely bonkers here.
Let you focus on the bunkers part of things here. Good luck.
Thank you.
Jeff Stabnow currently in 5th position. Once again, one of the veterans of this series and this organization. Verify things there. Good call on the race officials there, Greg, on allowing the 40 and 83 to keep their track position there after the start on the 53. We're about to see how this start stacks out with 8 laps to go from Michigan. Weaver in the lead, White in second, Dan West Jr., Seth Frazier, Jeff Stabnow round out the top 5. Pace car is off. Everyone waits this time. Green flag waits up at the stand. Bruce Weaver off and away.
Yeah, Weaver did not want to make that same mistake, and it works out as he gets the good jump on Chris White, who's right back in the 2nd position where he wound up last week. But here comes Dan West Jr. and Seth Frazier there as well. In 32, here he comes to the inside. Frazier looking for 3rd now as he pushes West to 2nd. Now we really get to see what the 32 has, because we didn't get to see it last restart.
Weaver now trying to block the draft to the 32, back up to West Jr. on the outside. Into turn 3, Frazier dives his way hard inside for the race lead. Weaver sticks firm in the 2nd seam. Frazier rides the bottom of the 1st seam. White follows the draft. Down the front straightaway, 1 to go, and 14 miles to go.
Here comes White giving a push to Frazier. Caution!
Crash on the front straightaway. Corey Walters in 12 spins. Contact with Brett Johnson brings us back to the Owen quickly.
Bruce Lee Weaver's going to hang on to the lead as Seth Frazier had a run there when that caution came out. But Justin, what happened to bring out the caution?
As you see on the replay, Walters held his line just above the 1st seam down through the tri-oval. Johnson tried to give the squeeze, thinking he was going to maybe go down to the white line of the apron. And look at the avoidance too, including 3 wide through the grass.
Unbelievable job by everybody to get it through there. But that's another twist in this one, Justin. This has been a spectacular race from start to finish, and after the confusion, we're setting up for a classic finish.
Really good job by whoever that was in the grass to make sure they didn't snap once they get back on the pavement too. Well, Walters now, a lot of bumps and bruises on his race car. Make it now, coming to 5 laps to go, and there's a chance this brings us to green-white-checkered territory here, if not natural green-white-checkered territory, Greg.
Yeah, we'll see here. It's going to be close. I don't know if we're going to see it this time, but if we get another caution, we will most definitely see it. But Bruce Lee Weaver, he may have made the call of the century if he can pull this one off, because remember, he stayed out. He was the 4th car on no tires. He fell outside the top 10, inherited the race lead, just decided to run it out as long as he possibly could, and caught the caution. with the incident between Frazier and Brightsman. And now he's in the race lead here with coming to 5 laps to go. Unbelievable job by Bruce Lee Weaver to put himself in a position to have a breakout.
And how big of an upset would this be for those wondering if he was going to be able to hold on here? And that's the big if. He has DNF'd in 6 straight races. He has not finished in the top 5 since Rockingham. That was his only time inside the top 10 in a finish. His best finish since the first DNF at Texas all the way up to Kansas, 23rd position. This would be absolutely huge, one of his best races all season. Despite how or rather I should say, regardless of how this goes here, Bruce Lee Weaver has to be proud of how he's played this race.
Yeah, outstanding effort for Bruce Lee Weaver tonight. He is going to have a race to hang his hat on tonight, because that was a great call there at the end to put himself in position to just lead laps, and he was trying to hang on and hope for a caution. He got it, and now he's got himself in a position to win. Bruce Lee Weaver, he can have the breakthrough of his life here tonight if he can pull this one off, and it's going to be an outstanding effort here as we are coming around. We're going to have just a couple of laps to go on the restart, but he has a very, very tall task ahead of him based off who's going to be starting to his outside.
By the way, discussions about a potential penalty for Brock Denny. You cannot change lanes before the start and finish line. The green flag dropped for the last run. The 222 jumped to the outside, and John Ottenbacher made it 3 wide at the stripe. And that's where some of the inexperience may pop up in iRacing, where, yes, technically it's allowed on the right side of the car, but in leagues such as this, you cannot realistically do it, just as you cannot do in real life in NASCAR.
So just another fold to how this race has turned out. So just waiting for the official's decision on that one. Lights still on the pace car, Justin. So this should put us into green-white-checkered. Once this green flag falls, this should be a green-white-checkered based on the lap count where we sit right now with the lights still on the pace car.
Indeed here. By the way, for those who may have seen a blistering fast car zoom by the pace car, that was Adam Chisholm, who was the lucky dog car in the 70 car. Taking a different look today, had a more nuanced look for one of his first races of the season, with the 57 on the hood, more of a classic look. But this time, taking the Valvoline car and keeping that Heinz 57 font on the top roof. That is a 70 car officially.
It's a very interesting finish here, Justin, as the lucky dog gets his position back. Here we go, as Bruce Lee Weaver pulling right up on the pace car.
Yep.
Justin, final thoughts?
I think we're about to see an absolutely crazy finish here if they can get to the white flag. Remember, for the race to be official, they have to take the white, and we are not in our first GWC. It could get crazy here with Bruce Lee Weaver and how defensive he has to get here on the 32.
Yeah, Seth Frazier, remember the initial start, he was on the outside, this very position, and it worked out for him as he got the nose in front before the caution came out on lap number 1. He finds himself now in the same position with a chance to win it. He's got Dan West Jr. behind him, but here's the thing. Bruce Lee Weaver has control of the restart, and we've seen it time and time again. That inside lane has such an advantage, being where the control car is. Can Chris White stay with Bruce Weaver on the very beginning and get in front of Frazier? So many possible storylines here and how this race can unfold. We're going to find out momentarily.
Indeed, buckle up, folks. Getting ready for what could be one of the final starts of the race. 4 miles to go from Michigan International Speedway. To recap, your top 10, Bruce Lee Weaver in first, Frazier second, Chris White in third, Dan West Jr. fourth, Devin West, Jeff Stabno in row 3, row 4, Brian Barnes, Ricky Boger, James Vining, BJ Tidrick up to the top 10 for the first time today. Rounds out the top 10 starting positions. Weaver in control of the field. Frazier on the outside. Top three, all Ford Mustangs. Pace car drops off. Marty the flagman in control of the field. Back to racing in Michigan, 4 miles to go.
There's that start we talked about with Weaver, the inside lane being the advantage, but Seth Frazier was able to get in front of Chris White as Weaver comes up in front of him. So Chris White was not able to capitalize on that, and that will set Seth Frazier up all by himself to go after Bruce Lee Weaver. They come off turn number 2. Weaver got just a little bit loose here, and here comes Frazier to the inside, all the way down to the white line. Has help from White in the 83. Dan Western on the outside, kind of stuck behind Weaver here. Coming to the white flag, Frazier has the lead.
Side by side, 3-car battle for the race lead. Weaver with the bobble, Frazier with the block. Race is official. No, it's not. Caution comes out just 10 feet from the line. The 222 spinning in the grass. Denny involved as well as a couple others just before they got to the white. Wow, Tidrick involved. Anderson involved. Daryl Tidrick also in it.
A massive pileup on the backstretch, just 10 feet from the line, or the front stretch, excuse me.
Wow. And the white flag was already just about displayed at the stand. But Daryl Tidrick and co. get involved in the incident. Let's take a look. This is Denny. You see here, accident happens in that grouping just up the road, then becomes the secondary part of the incident as he has to slide to the grass. Right there with Corey Walters.
Wow.
Frazier must be thinking, what now? After that, remember involved. Tidrick, you seen with the contact coming off of turn 4, both the Tidricks. And now Frazier gets to be the control car again. We're starting tonight. Chris White, though, gets to start third. Bruce Lee Weaver still holds on to second. And now, it'll be the first of 2 green-white-checkered attempts, Gray.
But Justin, if that caution comes out 0.7 of a second later, this race is over. It was that close before Frazier got to the line. If that caution came out 0.7 of a second later, this race is over. Now we got to do it all again.
Yeah, they're already in the mix of bump drafting their way across the stripe, thinking that the race was going to be official. They're door banging as well for 5th. So now we'll have to see how they regroup here in this scenario.
You know, the one who's got to be the most frustrated about that was Seth Frazier in the 32, being so close to the line. But now he's got to do it all again, but he will be the control car. That's the good news. The bad news, he's got the hungry hounds behind him.
To refresh, this is the first official green-white-checkered attempt. The last run was unnatural GWC. Now that we're in the official green-white-checkers into overtime, here's how things will play out. All drivers must make their way to the white flag for the race to be official and for the race to be completed under green. If they get a caution flag before they reach the white flag, similar to what just happened, it will trigger a second green-white-checkered attempt. If there is a caution flag before the white flag on the second attempt, race is official. It will end under caution. As we've mentioned before, the goal is simple. If you are Frazier and co., keep it clean, get to the white flag, battle for the race win from then on out.
So what will happen once we get back to green? We have already passed the scheduled distance. Lights are still on the pace car. So, Justin, another shout to Bruce Lee Weaver for an outstanding call there, but unfortunately he got passed by Seth Frazier, but he was able to hang on to second there and puts himself on the front row for this first official green-white-checkered. So another great job by Bruce Lee Weaver today to hang on there for that second position, although he's at such a disadvantage being there outside front row to start this run.
Now we'll see if anyone's able to poke their way by Frazier. We've seen how well he's been able to defend on the bottom side in turn 3. It might come down to a last lap send to the inside, similar to what West Jr. did in the mid portion of the race. Keep in mind, West Jr. just so happens to be in P4.
Yeah, Dan West Jr. has only led a couple of laps today. Not your typical Dan West Jr. race, but he is still very much in the hunt for this one at the end. Jeff Stabnow up in the 5th spot. He said he wasn't sure about how he was going to, or how this was going to go for him, but he's up in the 5th spot, so might not be done. Devin West had to take the fast repair after the incident around the halfway point. He's up in 6th. Brian Barnes used the fast repair on lap 1. Caught up in another accident as soon as he got back on the lead lap after that incident. He's up in the 7th spot. Outstanding performance from Brian Barnes tonight as well.
Yeah, especially with that right rear with damage. 1 to go signal is on the racetrack. By the way, remember, there was that trouble for James Thurston during the long green flag run where he made contact with the right side door with a fellow competitor, got shuffled out to the apron. He just so happens to be 11th position right now. Alwell O'Hare has also joined the picture in 12th spot for the first time since, well, the starting grid.
So outstanding effort from James Thurston. He was one of those ones we were talking about in the early stages that was having such a great run. And he was one of those drivers who took the 2 tires on that pit stop where we saw the split strategies. He was one of the ones that took 2, and it was working for him. Unfortunately, he got shuffled to the back after having to chase his car all the way down to the inside wall, almost kept it off the wall, but another solid recovery in the field tonight. That too of James Thurston trying to break up into the top 10. In the 11th spot on this restart, could work out for him.
See what happens. Frazier the control car. Weaver looking for his best finish of the season since Rockingham. Pace car making its way through turn 4. Marty the flagman all set to go up at the stand. The Menards car ready to launch. Green flag is out. 2 laps to go again for Michigan.
Did you notice what he did? He kind of hung back a little bit, waited for it till he was for certain that pace car was off, and then gunned it. And he pulled away from Chris White. Look at the gap that he was put on the 83, because that was the car that was behind him on that initial restart. Did he pull too far ahead, though? Because here comes Bruce Lee Weaver with Dan West Jr. and Chris White behind him. Did Frazier possibly pull too far ahead and might have made himself a sitting duck?
Frazier, though, defends his way to the bottom side, trying to make sure he is a happy duck. Contact behind West Jr. and Chris White. They straighten it out. Battle for the lead heads its way towards the front stretch. If they get the white flag, the race is official. Frazier dives to the bottom. White flag up in hand. White flag taken. 2 miles to go.
This race is official, and it looks like a one-on-one battle between Weaver and Frazier, as I don't know if West Jr. can get back to him without any drafting help. Frazier leads him through 1 and 2. Weaver looked high and looked low. Here comes Bruce Lee Weaver with a run to the inside, trying to get it down the backstretch for the final time, and Weaver is there.
Weaver sends it hard. Frazier tries to diamond. Heading off to the final corner. Contact! Frazier hits the corner panel. Weaver runs away. Bruce Lee Weaver wins his first race in the Cup Series as they crash behind him. Unbelievable for Bruce Lee Weaver.
The gamble early around lap 30 paid off. Bruce Lee Weaver puts himself in a position to win and pulls it off at the end. What a job by Bruce Lee Weaver.
Unreal. It's his first ever win in Northwest Racing Series competition, and his best finish of the season by far, breaking a streak of 6 straight DNFs.
Unbelievable. That is one very, very happy man in the 40 car.
And you mentioned the strategy call he took to get up at the front was a massive gamble, was at the edge of the fuel tank. Ends up holding on at the right place at the right time and wins it. His first victory in the Cup Series, his first win in this organization's history for the Can-Am RC machine. Bruce Lee Weaver wins the race by 0.4 of a second over Dan West Jr. Let's take a look at your unofficial race results. West Family Racing had a good run to the checkered. West Jr. and Devin West, second and third. Seth Frazier fourth, Jeff Stabnell fifth, Stephen Paulson in sixth, with James Viney in seventh, Brian Barnes in eighth, with O'Hare in ninth. Thurston rounded up the top 10. Another solid run for Adam Chisholm in his second race in a row with an 11th place or better finish. Frank Harrison 12th. Ricky Bellinger comes home 13th. Dana Rogers 14th. PJ Tidrick, Chris White, Caden Anderson 16th and 17th. Dan Leather in 18th with Corey Walters. Brock Denny rounding out the drivers on the lead lap. One driver, one lap down is Dale Tidrick. Dan Stuzzi, 3 laps down, 22nd. Rest of the field did not finish. That's Brett Johnson, John Ottenbacher, Carl Burke, Sean Breitzman, Scott Hutchinson, Roy Grande, Scott Mann. With Steve Jennings and Josh Washington, with the latter ready to make a debut, did not make it to the starting grid for tonight's action. Throwing race to the finish for Bruce Lee Weaver, his first victory in Cup Series competition in the Northwest Racing Series, his first win ever in the organization. We'll join him and more for the Clan Wars post-race show after this step aside. You're watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing.
They say everything is bigger. These guys down in Texas aren't messing around. This feature race will separate the boys from the men, the girls from the ladies. Can you handle racing 300 laps for $25,000? It's not as easy as you think. We don't stop to tow those too weak. We just push them out of the way. We don't run 20 laps. We run 300 each night. We don't care about what you and your boys have under the hood. Bring all you got. Don't be scared. Call my Cowboy Jack today to get signed up. It all goes down on October 2nd and 3rd in Mesquite, Texas, just outside of Dallas. Kenny Wallace is coming back this year to try again. You don't have excuses. Go to LoneStar600.com now.
Welcome back, everyone, to Michigan International Speedway for tonight's coverage of the Clan Wars post-race show for the Northwest Cup Series. Clan Wars, the official communication partner of LSR TV. Justin Prince, Greg Renz with you, Charles Wood in the director's seat as we get our post-race coverage with the third-place finisher. It was a 2-3 finish for West Family Racing. Devin West coming home in third after starting deep in the field in 18th after being about 50 feet short of setting one of the quickest times in qualifying. First things first, Devin, how are you feeling coming home in third tonight after a crazy finish?
Yeah, that qualifying, I think, was just as crazy as that race was. I think I was going to go for fast time, and then all of a sudden, before I knew it, I was in the pits. So that was kind of a bummer. But I started 18th, and I got to the top 3 within the first 15 laps, and I was pretty happy with that. And I tried to just fill a gap. I think I got the 222 there and right myself. So the race was a long race. I felt like it was never going to end there towards the end, but happy to come up third. It was a good day for us.
Yeah, talk us through your strategy with you and your dad being lined up near one another for that final restart under the green-white-checkered.
I think it definitely was just a case where if I was going to pick his lane, if he was running and trying to get around a guy, I was going to try and push him around someone if I had to. I think it was definitely a situation where I didn't really know what was going to happen, so I don't think I beat it or I'm else in the field. So obviously I wanted to win, he wanted to win, just everybody else. And so I think to come home second and third is pretty good. I think we'll both take that.
Next race goes to Charlotte, one of the longer races of the season, 201 miles, 134 laps. Your thoughts on going to Charlotte?
Yeah, we ran the trucks there, I think it was this week or last week on Thursday, and I ran pretty good. Fortunately, Jeff just had a little faster truck, but I'm excited to go back there on the Cup car and see what I can do.
Anyone you want to thank for being a part of your run tonight?
Yeah, first off, just LSR TV, you know, you guys are good for putting on a great show, so we can go back and watch it later. And my dad, obviously Jeff, Sean, everyone that puts on the series and lets us come out here on Monday nights and Thursday nights to have a lot of fun.
Indeed, congratulations on the third place.
Thank you.
Definitely what's coming home in third. His father, Dan West Jr., standing by with Greg.
And Dan, you ran up in the top 5 for a majority of the race there. And tell us about that race overall as a whole, because you kind of just played it safe most of the day and didn't really push the envelope a whole lot, knowing how aero sensitive this track is.
Yeah, I tried. I tried to play it safe. I felt like I was just going to run that top side and then let people dive bomb me and you know, give up a few positions here and there. And it didn't play out like I thought. I was hoping for long runs and then I could get back, you know, head back to the front. But you know, as far as the draft goes, definitely the draft was the most I've seen so far with these Cup cars, other than a super speedway, of course. But it was tough. I mean, you know, most time, as you've seen, it was 2 abreast.
And tell us about just how that race unfolded for you, because like you mentioned, it was drafting like it was Daytona. There were runs on the inside, runs on the outside, comers and goers all day long. But you seem to be one of the ones who were steadily, constantly up there. So what were you changing throughout the course of the race as the race unfolded, when it would be slicing and icing and then it would settle down for a few laps? What were you changing in your driving throughout the course of that race?
Well, I think it just became a point of when to go and when not to go, right? You know, Greg, you run these cars too, and there's a point there where you have to stand on the go pedal and you got to not give up position. So there was times I'd go to the inside and try to gain a position back and not give anything up. But then there was times I felt like, well, you know, you give up a position or two, it was fine. That outside line was the place to be, I thought. Obviously, early on a green flag run, people could get down in there and run that bottom. But for the most part, the top was the place to be. You could definitely save your stuff. But that's basically what I was doing, just trying to get a long green flag run and not give up too much.
Well, worked out for you in the end, Dan. And what an incredible effort also, because not only does it come home with a second, that gives you something to build on for Thursday when we're right back here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the trucks do. I don't think the trucks are near as aero sensitive as these cars are, so it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, no doubt you guys at West Family Racing are going to go to work right away on getting the setup ready for the truck race. But it's a 2-3 for you guys tonight, and we know you got a lot of people you want to thank. So who you got?
LSR TV, Cody, Greg, and Justin. I had to look to see who's all in there tonight. You guys do a great job. Like Devin said, we love to go back and watch the races later on. Our family loves watching it. Our sponsors, Effective Web Solution, and all the guys that help put this Northwest Racing Series on. Thank you.
And that's second place, Dan West Jr. Another great finish. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
And we're going down to victory lane, where Justin Prince has caught up with a guy who just scored his first win of the season and first career Northwest Racing Series victory.
Yes, indeed. Bruce Weaver came into tonight with 6 straight DNFs. Now comes home with the victory after having just 1 top 5 entering tonight. Bruce, how does it feel to be a winner in the Northwest Cup Series?
Hey, I'm excited. We finally pulled it off. How about that?
Absolutely. Let's talk through that final run to the checkered. In fact, let's start off, where you called to stay out on the racetrack. Longest out of anyone on the fuel run. What came down to that decision on the fuel that eventually let you being up at the front?
Well, in the restart before that, we didn't pit. Ended up falling back to 13th, 14th, somewhere around there, just floating. And I figured that was my only chance. Stay out, hope for a caution. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Guess what? We got a caution.
Indeed, and that eventually set up that green-white-checkered finish. What was your strategy for that final run to the checkered?
Well, I watched the way Frazier got me on the restart right before, and I figured that's all I could do. I learned it from him.
Indeed. How difficult was it to try and battle for that race win, though?
The most fun I've had all season, gotta be honest with you. I loved racing with Frazier. Just able to drive clean and, you know, look out the windshield, hope we'd bring home the checkered flag, and that's what happened.
Indeed. How was the type of racing? How was it for the racing, I should rather say, tonight, as you were going back and forth at some points inside the top 10?
Felt a lot like a super speedway race, and that's kind of the way I raced it, using that draft to get around cars, using your run, not necessarily taking the pass when you get to the car, setting it up for the next time, and it seemed to work. And then all of a sudden, halfway through the race, the outside line seemed to be working really well. So it was just it was like a speedway with a couple different options.
Next race is at Charlotte. Your thoughts on that track?
I've had good runs with the mile and a half, just haven't had good finishes. So maybe we carry some momentum into next week, and maybe we can get up there again.
Anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
You know, I got to thank the wife. Missed it in the last interview, so we're going to go with the wife times 2. How about Gundy's Auto Wreckers, Florence Yamaha, and Metro Saw Cutting.
Congratulations on the victory tonight. Heck of a run.
Thanks, guys. Really excited about it. We're partying tonight.
Bruce Lee Weaver off to party after his first victory of his career in the Northwest Cup Series and Northwest Racing Series. What a run tonight, Greg. What a race. What a finish.
Yeah, unbelievable. We were keeping our eyes on Bruce Lee Weaver after that initial restart, and he faded back outside the top 10, got himself back in the lead by staying out there on that run, long green flag run, caught the caution at the perfect time, and was able to stay up front for the rest of the race and find himself in position to capitalize on the green-white-checkered, and did just that. That was an outstanding race at Michigan.
Your expectations of what we see at Charlotte next race, though, for the Cup Series?
For Charlotte, I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw at Atlanta and Texas. Another very, very similar layout. We saw some comers and goers in that race, Justin, and at the end, it came down to strategy both times. So I'm thinking we're going to see another case of that next week at Charlotte, as the Truck Series had a very good prequel race to that a couple of days ago. Coming this past Thursday, you can catch that replay on LSR TV for a preview of what you're going to see. But for Charlotte, I'm expecting another classic race, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think so too, but we'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's coverage of the Northwest Cup Series, live on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. We'd like to also thank Devin West, Dan West Jr., and Bruce Lee Weaver for taking part in post-race coverage presented by Clan Wars, the official communication partner of LSR TV. But it's time to say goodbye from Michigan International Speedway. For Director Charles Wooden, for my co-announcer Greg Rentz, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. We'll see you at Charlotte next Monday.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.